What is up, guys? This is Pinzo back with another video today, and what I have for you guys is 13.3 patch notes for Fault. It's been a couple weeks since we had a patch, and they are getting back to, it seems, their bi-weekly patches. This one came out on a Wednesday, which is kind of weird. Normally they're, Mondays and Tuesdays, but I'm not going to complain because we have some content. We've got some skins, new items, balance fixes, all that. We're going to be going over all of it, giving you my opinion on all the changes in the patch notes today. But before we jump into it, if you're new, please do be sure to hit the subscribe button. We're approaching 500, which is a really big goal for me. And every person that hits the button helps me out just a little bit. It's just a click for you guys. It helps me out a lot. Getting into today's video, we're just going to go through the patch notes. So up first, we have some skin stuffs. First, Shogun Kalari. So this skin looks very clean. It's, obviously off of the Shogun motif that you can see Mordoch has a skin for. And back in Paragon days, I think there were a couple others that had skins along this red and gold kind of motif, and they all look really good. You can see this skin is looks very clean. I can't wait to see it in game. I don't know how to look in game, but Mordoch's looks really good, so I can't imagine this will look much worse. Then we have a bunch of ward skins. The only one here that I'm gonna point out is this one, purely because it's black, and that is going to be really easy to hide on the map, just because it'll blend into shadows more easily. Unless they're super highlighted, this is going to be kind of hard to see. This might be a sort of pay to win ward skin, which is just something I watch out for. If you can't find a ward, it's probably in a shadow. And now items. So we get two new items. These are basically, I'm assuming, going to be built off the same, build up items because they give the same stats. So they both give 450 health, 50 energy armor, 10 CDR, 2800 gold is the cost, and that's for both of them. And then this top one, the Ring of Rejuvenation, also gives 25% endurance, which is CC reduction, which is what the tank boots give you, the green boots. This is what they give you. But the passive is really good. So you heal for 8% your max health over 4 seconds after being affected by hard crowd control. This doesn't say that it has a cooldown on it. I would like to see that it has a cooldown on it. Maybe it does, and it doesn't say it here. If this has no cooldown, this is going to be really, really good. Think of how often you're getting hit by hard crowd control. That's going to be stuff like knockups, stuns, any displacement, so knockbacks, any kind of that stuff is going to be hard crowd control. And there's quite a bit of it. So I would watch out for this in games where you're facing maybe a multi-tank comp, such as having a Steel, having a Narbash, both of those on the enemy team might be something that you're looking into. As for Fountain of Invigoration, the passive is increasing all healing by 30%, and this includes health regen and lifesteal. The main thing about this is that it's situational. You're not going to run this in 90% of your games. In my opinion, the only person that's going to run this most of the time is Narbash. I think it will do very well with it, or Chimera if you are building a more tanky kind of backliney Chimera, then this is going to be really good. I don't think these shake up the game too much, but this top one will be interesting for sure. On to bug fixes. I'm going to skip over most of these. The only one that I'm going to kind of point out is this, like the item that gives you CC immunity. You can't use it under crowd control. I just thought that was funny. Anyway, the rest of these don't affect much. It's just tiny situational buffs. So balance. So this is a new thing. They're changing how cooldown reduction works. I'm just going to say before I read this that I don't like it. I've read it already, and I think that it's dumb purely because of the reason that it makes it less intuitive. Right now, CDR super intuitive. It's basically, you buy an item, and if it has 20% CDR on it, your cooldowns are 20% shorter. It makes sense, and you can see, I believe right now there's a cap of 40%, so you can know that when you get to 40% CDR, you can stop stacking it. It's very straightforward. What they're doing is making a formula for it. So basically, you can see up on these rings, they give 10 CDR. That's not 10%. That's just 10. So you have this funky little formula that'll tell you exactly how much percent that is, which they say here 65 CDR is about 40%. I don't really like this. I hope they change this back. This is just going to make a weird learning curve for new players. Like if you're a new player and you're playing mid lane for the first time and you pick an item that says 20 CDR and your cooldowns are half a second shorter, you're going to be kind of questioning where that 20% is, So I don't like this personally, but if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. We'll see how this plays. And then favors getting a little rework. Basically, instead of items scaling, your aspects will scale. So blue will give you energy power, red physical, white gives you CDR, green gives you health, purple gives you pen. Just kind of playing into your initial choice actually affecting stuff. And it's supposed to be less snowbally, which once again we'll find out once we get to play this. Favor, so stuff like Raptor gives 3 now, Prime gives 2, turrets give kills, kills give favor, minion kills give favor faster. This used to be 35. So it favor should feel a little less late game, like it's winning the game, and now it'll kind of be a more gentle curve into that late game. And then Shrine's all buffs get reduced by 30 seconds. I don't know if this is super necessary. The only one I think this is necessary on is Gold buff, which is also getting a nerf from 15 to 10 bonus gold. Honestly, I still think 10 bonus gold is kind of ridiculous. Considering 60 seconds, that's 2 waves. Could be 3 if you break it at the right time. So you're looking at 300 extra gold or something like that every time you break this buff. So it's just something to think about. I think that they can go about a different way of giving AD carries a lead that's not literally just giving them more items. Green Shrine just gets a buff. You lose some mana regen, but you gain everything else. So Green Shrine should be a little more boxy now, unless I can spam abilities. And then we get into the heroes. So people complained about Boris because his passive got fixed. So the character that was useless for the last 5 months got to be useful for about 2 weeks, and now they're nerfing him again. I still think he's honestly pretty good, but I don't think this is the right way to nerf him. I think you need to nerf his passive and then change. I don't know why his right click still scales on his auto attacks. You can have an ability hit like an auto attack and not have it do auto attack damage. So this being tied to his auto attack damage, it makes it harder. It makes it harder to buff. It makes it harder to put in the right place. If this is just power, if it's just a base number and power, you can change it easier. Whereas this is what they did the first time to Boris, and it destroyed him. So his clear is going to be bad again. You're going to struggle for the first 20 minutes of a match, and then they're going to surrender, and then the game's over. And then Rocket Slam, once again, this is something that's been in the game since Boris was here. However, it hasn't been working apparently for the last 5 months. So now it got working, and then they decided it was OP, so they removed it. I don't like these changes. Gadget gets a move speed increase, and then her Q, her anti-personnel mine, gets a cooldown reduction. I would expect to see a little more of her because of this cooldown. She'll be a little spammier early, especially with this mana cost reduction. She'll just be really annoying. I don't think she's any better, but she'll be more annoying. Gideon, so your Void Breeze base damage early game gets hit, so if you're not leveling your right click early, then this is going to affect you a little bit. But the explosion radius reduced needed to be done. It was really big before. You could hit people from God knows where, and now that'll be helped out a little bit. Greystone, this is a straight up revert. This is exactly what they did to him in the last patch. They reduced his fiery sword's duration and just cut its damage, and now they're just giving it back. Yeah, they decided that the fact that Greystone doesn't have an ultimate kind of outweighed the fact that this ability is kind of good. So they gave it back to him, and then they adjusted his jump so that you can use it more easily. I think this is a step in the right direction. I think they need to change his ultimate again. His ult doesn't exist as of right now. So this being back to its previous power is a start, but I think they need to fix his ultimate before he will be actually good. Mordoch gets some base stat hits. He gets his health reduced and his health per level reduced. So really late game, this is 50, no, it's 30 base. So it's 80 less health. It won't really matter 90% of the time. Every once in a while now, when you make it out with 1 HP, you would have died in the next patch. Other than that, his passive gets hit on its radius. So its radius is bigger early game, but shorter later game. I think that this is an interesting way to nerf this passive. I still don't think that it changes how strong it is. I still think this is the best passive in the game. Not being 10,000 units is really good, but the fact that this is still, way longer than Boris's sniff range, I think is kind of ridiculous. Boris's sniff, his Q ability, his blood tracker, it marks someone if they're within 4,000 units. So the fact that this is 6,000, I think, is kind of ridiculous to me. And then you have an ability on a 2-minute cooldown that's essentially a worse version of this passive that has a shorter range as well. So I think that this is a little weird. I think they just need to, cut the movement speed or change the passive, but we'll see how much that changes him. Narbash gets a pretty big nerf here as well. So Song of My People, this is his heal. Gets its mana cost increased by quite a bit early game. It's 10 more mana per second early game. So I would expect to see Narbash a little bit less. He's pretty strong right now, and especially with this healing item, this new ring, I would expect to see him, or this ring, excuse me, Fountain of Invigoration. I think he'll still be solid. I think he'll be okay. You'll just have to be smarter about using your mana. Steel gets a couple buffs here. I don't think either of them matter. Your shield bash does more damage, more base, and more scaling. I don't think this changes anything about him. And then the ultimate getting like 40 more damage, also I don't think changes anything about where Steel's at right now. Steel's just kind of slow. He just plays a little slow. You have to get really close to people. If you're not running Quantum Shift, you're going to be screwed. If you run Quantum Shift, your defense is pushed back. It's just kind of an awkward place to have a character like this. And then finally, Twin Blast. Ventilate is getting a small nerf late game by 5% late game. I don't think this changes the power of Twin Blast. They're obviously still nerfing him after the last patch when they nerfed him. I still think carries are by far the best in the game. Even Twin Blast getting a small nerf here and Mordoch getting a small nerf. Carries are still really strong. So I would watch out for carries. Other than that, that's the end of the patch notes. So that's it for today's video. If you guys agree, disagree, let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious what you guys have to say about today's patch notes, especially because we got a couple more in-game things, a couple items, skins. I want to know your guys' thoughts on how SMS is releasing their patch notes, whether these patch notes change the game enough for you to go back and play it some more. I want to know all that kind of stuff in the comments down below. So, as always, if you enjoyed the video, please leave it a like. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe. We're approaching 500. Can't wait to hit it. But that's all I've got for you guys. So, as always, I've been Pinzo. This video's done, so thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.